Hey guys, my name is Tim. I'm the master mechanic at Zeiten BMW Mobile Services, and today we have 2007 BMW 335i E92 Coupe. What we're gonna do is doing the regular transmission service, which includes the Mechatronic seal, Mechatronic sleeve. We'll see if it needs to be replaced. Then Mechatronic adapter seals, and also of course the new fluid, which approximately gonna be 6 or 7 quarts, and of course oil pan that has a built-in filter and the gasket, so it's all one plastic piece. And let's get to it. So the first thing we're gonna do, well, we don't have any splash shields right here, but if you do, it's a bunch of 8mm bolts, and you remove one from the front and one from the transmission. You can also remove this one in the back, but it's not really necessary. So we probably gonna remove this bracket, but we'll see. We'll start with draining the transmission fluid. It's a 10mm Allen socket, and it's not that tight, so you just loosen it a bit. And after that, there you go. While the transmission is draining, we can go ahead and start removing the bolts all around the transmission. It's Torx 40. And be prepared for it to be messy. Transmission services are always messy. That's why we have the tarp here, and we have plenty of paper towels to go with it. So while the transmission is draining, we're going to removing all the Torx 40 bolts. I would leave one in one corner, I would say right here, and the other one right here tightened, just so we can put the plug back in and remove the oil pan. When we do that, there's still going to be plenty of oil in there, transmission fluid, and so we can make it less messy. Also, we're going to be removing this piece. This is where the splash shield, you gotta kind of turn it in there. So it's a 10mm nut right here, just behind the exhaust. And other than that, we are free to go. Alright guys, so what I want to show you is the Mechatronic sleeve. This is the socket, the connector for the sleeve, and as you can see, it's all dry in here. There is no need to replace it at all, but we're gonna do it because sometimes it leaks, usually on higher mileage, and we're gonna show you how to do so. But if you don't have to replace it, I'll show you the way how to replace the Mechatronic seal without removing it at all, and that will save you a ton of time and effort. But we're gonna replace it anyways in this video as well. But make sure before you do any transmission work, just inspect it to see if this part leaks or not. Usually it's not. 99 cars out of 100 don't leak from this spot, but everybody claims it does. Also look at the transmission oil pan. As you can see, it's all oily, but it's not coming from the transmission, because all around here it's all clean and clear everywhere around the perimeter of the transmission. Where it comes from? It comes from here. It's the oil pan gasket. Oil pan gasket, when you're driving, the oil flow goes this way and makes the transmission oil pan dirty. So that's what happens. So before you do any work basically on transmission, inspect it first, look for leaks. This one is not leaking, but we are doing the annual service and it has already some slippages here and there, so it's probably the Mechatronic seal is damaged, and that's why we're doing it, not because it's leaking a lot of fluid or anything like that. Now we're gonna remove the last two bolts. One is right here, one is right here, and remove the oil pan. Be ready for this fluid to come out. So as you can see, it's already moving, the oil pan. Ready. So all the bolts are out. As you can see, there's plenty of fluid left from the oil pan, so be prepared for it. And there's more gonna be coming out when we're gonna remove the valve body, or even lower the valve body to replace the Mechatronic seal. This is basically nothing coming out right now. There's gonna be plenty more. If you don't have to replace the Mechatronic sleeve that is right there, and you just need to do the Mechatronic seal, which is right here, I'll show you how to do it with the less effort, without removing basically anything. We're just going to be lowering the valve body. So there's three Torx 40 bolts right here on this plastic part. Those are short ones, just like that. Those are the short bolts that hold the valve body to the transmission. Basically it's 3 bolts in the back, 3 short ones. We remove them first, remove them entirely, and then there is on different transmissions different amount of bolts. So on this one we have 7 bolts right here in the front. It's they all Torx 40. The rest of the bolts are Torx 25 or Torx 30. Yeah, Torx 25s are for a different reason, and Torx 30 are for Mechatronic itself. So we're gonna remove just those that are Torx 40, 7 of those in the front. And those are long bolts. The rest of the bolts we're gonna be removing or loosening are all the same length, so you can't mess them up. So those are 7 bolts that are at the front, and now we have 3 more kinda in the back of the valve body right here, and I'm gonna be removing this one entirely, and this one entirely, and this one just loosening, so it will lower the valve body. Expect more fluid to come out. This is absolutely normal. Let it drain. I'm gonna keep loosening it. Okay. So basically the whole valve body right now is held by just one bolt. And it seems like we do have enough room to remove. If not, I can lose it more, but yeah, let's get to the front and I'll show you where the Mechatronic seal is. Alright guys, so here's the Mechatronic seal. As you can see, the seal, one of the parts of it is separated and is left on the valve body. There it is. We can remove that. That's usually one of the parts that fails. And now I have the long pick tool. So what we're gonna do is just press it in the middle, the Mechatronic seal. There you go. And there is enough room to remove it. There it is. So if you just need to replace this seal, you're just gonna put back the new one the same way and put the valve body back on. This is it. And then refill the transmission, all of that we're gonna be showing in the video as well. But this is the most common problem with those transmissions. The Mechatronic seal fails, it loses pressure. I don't see here. The rubber is not that great, but there is no cracks. Usually it fails to the point where there are cracks on the Mechatronic seal and the transmission barely drivable. This one drives fine, it's just a little bit slipperish here and there. So that's the most common issue, not the Mechatronic sleeve, which is rarely leaks, honestly, in my experience, and I've personally done hundreds of those transmissions. So yeah, this is it. If that would be the case in our transmission, I would just put back this seal, put everything back, refill it, and we're done. But let's get to removing the valve body and the Mechatronic sleeve. So let's start removing the Mechatronic sleeve. We start by turning this piece counterclockwise as usual. There you go, all the way out. And now we can move it out of the way. It's really not much room in here, so stay with me. Gonna be lots of fluid coming out, so be prepared for it. You're gonna be all dirty. And take your time, don't break anything, as usual. There it is, almost out. Yep, now it's out. Okay, the next one is this piece right here. Yep, there you go. Luckily, that was smooth. Usually it's not. So we're gonna remove the Mechatronic sleeve first. We just need to find the right angle to just push it out, just like that. The hard part with this piece basically is that it goes in only one way, so it's gonna be sort of difficult installation, but removing it, it's not that big of a deal. Here it is, it's all out. So now what are we gonna do? The only thing left is removing this bolt and lowering the valve body down. Be careful, it's heavy, kind of, so don't drop it. Alright, ready? There you go. Okay, what this gives us is the access for those little adapter seals, which we can replace as well. Very rare they need replacing in my experience, but we're gonna do it anyways. So now we're gonna replace those little seals that are really hard, in order to not mess them up, not mistake yourself. It's two of those seals are the same size and two are different. So here's the one, and this is the smallest one, but to make sure, just take it off, put it side by side, there it is, and we'll put it back on. Put it all the way in. There's another one. It's the same size, so those two are the smallest ones. They are the same, and they are coming from, we're going from passenger side towards the driver's side, so the corner passenger and the next one to it are the same size, smallest ones. Let it go all the way. The next one, that's a bit bigger. Next in line, that's one. There you go. And the last one is the longest one. It's somewhere there, but anyways, that's the last one, the longest seal. There you go. So all seals are in place, all good. Now we're gonna clean everything up, clean out the batter where the gasket goes. And this is where the Mechatronic seal goes, 2 squares, basically, like everybody calls them. And now we can put the valve body back in place. We're gonna drain everything that's on it right now because there's plenty of fluid in here. Let's just this out. Okay, so we're ready to put the valve body back on. Before that, I'm just gonna put this Mechatronic seal right here. It should stay in place. And now, as you can see, you can't always drain all the fluid. When you're putting it back, make sure this piece aligns with the mechanical counterpart. Okay. We are now in place. I'll just put a few bolts in. Which ones? Let me see. Yep. Just gonna okay. So now the valve body is basically secure. We're gonna put the rest of the bolts in. Okay guys, just before you tighten everything up, make sure that this piece right here, if you can get closer maybe, is aligned with this pin. Without it, the car won't shift gears when you put everything back, so make sure it's in place. After that, you can make everything tight. Okay, this part is done. Everything is in place. Now we're ready to install the Mechatronic sleeve. That's the procedure I personally really don't like, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, so here we have the Mechatronic sleeve. There's two O-rings right here. I already lubricated it a lot. That's what you'll have to do for sure. Without it, it's gonna be really hard to install. Inside we have this little pin, and it goes not directly at 6 o'clock. It probably goes, let's see, I would say like this, kinda 6:37. That's an approximation, so you'll have to feel it inside, and well, it's actually like this. Pin looks this way towards the front of the engine. So we're gonna put it back in, and let's do it. Okay, we don't have enough room at all. Be prepared for it. We'll put the connector out, and let me see. Okay. There you go. Okay. So just remember where the pin is. Alright, well, now I'm gonna remove the glove so I can feel it. Turning inside. Okay. It felt all good. Now I'm just gonna pushing it inside. You can use the screwdriver to do so. Push as hard as you can, but only as long as you felt that the pins sit in place. Let's see. This is not yet there. A little better. There you go. So it's all the way in. Only after when it's all the way in, we'll be able to push this back in place. And now, not easy part also, to put this connector back in place, because it's rotational. It's not that simple either. Or maybe I personally just don't like it because there is not enough room at all. Well, as I always tell you guys, just take your time with it. It's no rush. We'll go in there. Removing this bracket would be a good idea, but you know, it's not, it doesn't create that much of a room. Just a tiny bit more. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so this is in now. Okay, this is locked, so this is all good. I just want to clean it up with a rag so it doesn't look like it's leaking or anything. It easily can be mistaken for a leak when there's some spots in there, or if it's a little bit shiny. Okay, this is it. The hard part is done. Now we're gonna put the new oil pan back in place and refill it. Now we're gonna remove the fill up plug. It's 8mm. I'm using the 8mm Allen. It's really hard. This plug is always hard, so I'm just gonna be using a big wrench on top of it, and you can see it is really hard plug. Always like this, I don't know why. There you go. And after that, it's just normal plug. I'm not gonna be replacing the plug. It doesn't come with the kit. There's nothing wrong with it. They never leak. I haven't seen even one leaking plug on this transmission, so this is not necessary at all. Okay, and now the new oil pan. As you can see, and you'll see in your kit, here's the filter. This is a built-in filter, and the gasket all around it. No need to lubricate it. I would lubricate just this piece right here that goes inside the transmission. And this is it. This is where we start. Now you can feel it sits properly. As usual, hand-tied bolts on a few sides, just so it stays in place. And then after that, I'm just gonna be putting all the bolts in, because it is a plastic oil pan. It can be spreading, so it's important, especially for this one, to put all the bolts in and then only then tighten them. Okay, all the bolts are in. Now we can cross tighten them, and this is it with the pan. Everything is in place, everything's tight, so now we're gonna fill up the transmission fluid. So this is just a regular pump. We are using Phoebe Bilstein fluid. There's a number right here. This is for 6-speed ZF transmission, ZF 6 HP 19 or 21, one of those. Once again, it's 2007 BMW 335. 2008 will have the same, but always check with the VIN number, because on some of the 3 series there was a GM transmission installed, so you just need to make sure if it's a ZF or GM transmission. GM transmission would have a metal oil pan and separate filter, so it's completely different. Okay, now the long process of pumping the fluid. After this service, transmission usually takes 6 or 5.5 quarts of fluid, but sometimes it takes 7. That happens. Also, it will take 4 approximately, maybe 3.5, and then we will have to start the car, so the pump will be operational and the fluid will start circulating, and after that we will fill it up with 2 more quarts. And there is a controversial, people always say, oh, you have to just warm up the transmission before filling it up. No, that's not true. We'll fill it up, then we start the car, it starts to warm up, and while we're pumping the rest of the fluid, it will reach its operational, well, not operational, filling up temperature, which is between 30 and 50 degrees Celsius. So let's go. Yep, there you go, 3.5 quarts in. As you can see, it starts dripping from there. This is the signal to start the car. Okay, so the car warmed up to fill up temperature, and now we can continue filling it up. And the next time it starts dripping from the fill up plug, that's the time to close the plug and stop filling it up. As you can see, it started dripping. That's the time to stop filling. It took exactly 6 quarts. You can get inside and shift the gears, drive reverse, but it's not really necessary unless you just want to check if you did everything right. For transmission fluid to get everywhere, just normal driving after repairs will be enough. And that's it. Alright guys, so the job is done. Everything works perfectly fine. The parts we used were ZF oil pan, and all the other seals, Mechatronic seal, the sleeve, all of those are ZF as well. The fluid, you can use the ZF fluid, or you can use the same one we used. It's a Phoebe Bilstein. We use them on every single transmission mostly, and it works just fine. We've used it for years, never had problem with it. What else to say? Don't break the car. See you next time.